There's four main areas where the business can improve the efficiency and effectiveness of operations. So you have your technological developments, materials quality, and waste minimization. So under each of these things, here are a couple of strategies that you have. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them because I am going to go through them as well. But let's first look at technological developments. So we need to know 6 technological development strategies. So those are automated production lines, robotics, CAD, CAM, artificial intelligence, and also online services. I've made a bit of a table here, just sort of describing all of those. With automated production lines, it's just a process requiring a reduced level of human input to function, where raw materials enter a series of workstations from which finished products leave. So if you think about, I know in year 12 for BizMan, we went to Yakult, we visited the Yakult factory, and they had automated production lines. So it would be where they would have stations where the bottle caps, so they had like little beads, and they would then be shaped into like the Yakult bottles. And then those Yakult bottles would then be sucked up into one machine and then transferred into the main production line, where they would then be filled. Once they were filled, then, the cap would then be put on them, and they'd be then taken to be packaged in with other bottles as well. So it's basically where the raw materials enter, and then there's a series of workstations which then transform that into like the final product, the final good. It also requires very minimal level of human input. So there's just a couple of people sort of just roaming around, making sure everything is sort of operating all right. Then we have robotics. This is just a form of technology which deals with design, construction, operation, and application of robots to create intelligent machines that can help assist humans. Computer-aided design. That's a computer software that allows businesses to simulate 3D designs without expending any physical resources, aiding the creation of both of product design, and the testing of modified product designs. So a lot of I guess CAD is used in architecture because it's not, I guess, feasible to, I guess, construct every single design, and so a lot of they use CAD in terms of just sort of simulating those 3D designs to sort of get a good idea of what it's going to look like. Then we have CAM. This involves automated control of the production process, including machinery, tools, and equipment by a computer. So it's literally looking at the actual, like the computer that operates the production process and the machinery. And then we have AI, the artificial intelligence, that refers to the machine learning algorithms, learning data to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence. Human intelligence. And then online services. So sort of refers to the development of and maintenance of an accessible online business website. Maybe that might be to a portal to communicate with suppliers or, to communicate with customers. But yeah. All right. Then we have our materials management. So this is the control and coordination of an organization's inventory. And so inventory, when we talk about inventory, that's just the storage of raw materials, components, parts, works in progress, and finished goods. So something like that. It takes up storage and therefore it has cost. So inventory, you'll find that with materials management, a lot of the time, in order to be efficient, businesses don't want to keep things in inventory. They want to be making sure they're using it efficiently, so they're not just taking up storage, and maybe if it's perishable goods especially, they're not rotting away and producing waste in the business. And yeah, they must be controlled to maintain stock and balance out storage costs with businesses' needs. So they need to be effectively managed. So with materials management, we need to know 4 strategies. So we need to know forecasting, the MPS and MRP, and also the just-in-time as well. Forecasting. So When we're looking at forecasting, it's just about predicting and correctly ordering materials that are required inputs for the business's operation. So it's just about looking at past and present trends to predict, I guess, future business needs. For example, looks at using past and present data and trend analysis to ensure that the business orders the right enough of resources to meet demand. A key example is that with Yakult, they know that in the winter months, their demand increases significantly because people like to drink Yakult to protect their immune system and to increase their immunity. And so this year, they know to then increase production of Yakult during the winter so that they're able to make enough to meet the demand. So that would be an example of Yakult forecasting. So it's kind of like if your demand increases, then you also want to make sure that the amount of materials you order also increase too. All right, then we have the MPS and the MRP. So with these ones, they just involve the MPS involves setting out production requirements. So it just looks at it sets out exactly what is to be produced, how much of an item is to be produced, when items are needed to be produced by, and how the items will be produced as well. With the materials requirement planning, that's a planning process that supports the MPS, and it sets out the material requirements of the business's operating system, as well as supplier lead in time. So while the MRP more so focuses on the material requirements and sort of explicitly stating those, the MPS is more so how it's more so the production requirements. So how things are to be produced, how much of things are to be produced, etc. The advantages is that it allows, it ensures that enough product is made to meet demand, and so it reduces customer dissatisfaction rates, and also reduces waste associated with inventory that is not used in production as well. So because the business is explicitly outlining how much they need to produce as well in order to meet those demand requirements. Then a key disadvantage, however, is that it depends on a high level of communication, both within the business and to customers as well. And so that might not be the strength of all businesses. So it's the business and to customers and suppliers. And so it really relies on the business having good communication, and might not be the strength of all businesses. So yeah. And then we have just in time. So just in time is an inventory management strategy developed in Japan, and it involves the reduction of inventory levels in the supply chain, which reduces inventory costs. So it was first implemented by Toyota. However, these are just some key elements of just in time. It aims to reduce costs through the minimization of inventory. The whole premise of just in time is ensuring that materials arrive just as they're needed for production. And so small quantities of inputs are delivered more frequently to meet immediate requirements so that there's no large stockpile, there's no, resources just sitting in inventory doing nothing. They're literally arriving, and as they arrive, they're used in production. Inventory, that means that inventory is replaced as it's used, and employee participation is required to identify and eliminate wasteful work practices. So, the business would then encourage employee participation to consider their inputs and how they sort of feel. With just in time, there's many advantages and disadvantages. Some advantages is that it reduces the storage space required for inventory, since there isn't much materials sort of being stored in inventory since they're used in production as they arrive. It reduces waste, and as stock does not sit in storage unused. Also reduces theft, because if there's less stock, less opportunity to steal stock as well. And it reduces insurance premiums because there are less products to be insured to, and increases liquidity, reduces the amount of money tied up to stock. I think the first three are probably like the most easiest to talk about. With disadvantages, key disadvantages are that it's dependent on reliable and frequent deliveries of materials. So it's really important that materials are arriving, because if they don't, that can delay the production of the outputs. Because if the business doesn't have its inputs, then it can't produce its outputs. So therefore, if there's a delay in the inputs, there's going to be delay in creating the outputs, and that can create a lot of problems because it impacts the business, the ability of the business to sell its goods and services and get that revenue, get that profit, all of that. It can also be quite costly to set up and maintain because it is frequent. It kind of links into the third point here, but usually the business must order from domestic suppliers, which may be more expensive. And so since it's frequent orders, the business has to sort of pay for transportation costs a lot more. There's a lot more transportation costs. And the business can't really order from international suppliers. Well, they can, but they're more so likely to order from domestic suppliers and local businesses, which might be a little bit more expensive as well. Bulk buying discounts can also be lost as well. Okay, so increased costs means there's less profits, decreased costs means more profits. Okay, let us now look at quality management. So quality is the degree of excellence of a good or service and its ability to satisfy the customer. The characteristics of good quality are, ensuring that it's a high standard or grade, it's reliable, it lacks the defects, it's durable, and there's a speed of delivery and service. With quality management, there's 3 key aims. So, just making sure that the business is obtaining consistency in terms of like the high standards of outputs. They also to achieve. Sorry. I worded that a bit weirdly. I was gonna say these are sort of like the aims of quality management, and so the aims of quality management is to obtain consistency with high standards of output, to achieve set quality standards, and to minimize waste and defect rates, and therefore to improve efficiency. And so with quality management, we have our 3 strategies, which are quality control, quality assurance, and TQM. We'll go through all of them really quickly. So with quality control, this relates to the checking of products and services over the production stages to ensure that they meet predetermined standards of quality. So basically, it's about the business setting benchmarks and comparing the sort of checking the products and services. So conducting inspections to ensure that they meet those benchmarks and sort of comparing that to the benchmarks. And if there are any issues, taking corrective action. So as I've set out here, it's about the business establishing the standards of quality, which are the benchmarks, then inspecting the output, comparing the inspection results to the established quality standards, and then taking corrective action if necessary. So fixing or throwing out particular things within the operations stage. So for example, with Yakult, I'm going to use the Yakult example, but they had some benchmarks that they had created is that each Yakult bottle needs to be filled up to a specific level because they need to weigh a specific amount. And so there needs to be consistency across all of that, because it's not fair if a customer gets 15 ml while another customer gets 10 ml. So it's really important that they're being very precise, and that is very consistent. And if they find that, okay, on a particular day that all of, the Yakult bottles are reaching 9 ml instead of 10 ml, then that's when corrective action needs to be taken, and they need to look at the machines that are being used, maybe change the settings on machines, maybe replace the machine if they're, defective, or if they're getting old, maybe conduct a check on the machine, get it repaired, to ensure that that is fixed so that the outputs do meet the benchmarks. Okay, then we have quality assurance. Quality assurance is the certification awarded to a business by an independent third party once they've achieved an established specific level of quality in the production of the goods or services. So this is where the business kind of proactively takes the steps to ensure that, they have the strategies in place to increase the quality of their goods and services, so that when an independent third party does come into the business and conducts an assessment, they're able to be awarded that certification. So that certification in order to get the certification, the business has to prove that it's met those established standards. And it's a proactive process, like I mentioned, unlike quality control, which is more so reactive, because it's quality control focuses on the business uncovering a particular idea, or uncovering a particular defect or something. The defect has already occurred, but they're reacting to that and then fixing it. Then we have TQM. This is a holistic quality management approach that aims to achieve continuous improvement of production. So the continuous improvement of production, processes, goods, and services through the creative participation of all people in the organization. So it looks at sort of involving, it's a holistic quality management approach, as it's mentioned, sort of encouraging the participation of everyone in the business. It operates on 3 principles. The first one is continuous improvement, which looks at, ensuring that every stage of production can be bettered and there's no status quo. So it's literally just saying that, there's no such thing as just being perfect. The business has to continuously strive for improvement and betterness, if that's a word. The second principle is customer focus, and that is just ensuring the process provides customer with what aligns with or exceeds their wants, their needs, and expectations. So kind of looking at internal customers and external customers, just ensuring that whatever the business is doing kind of meets their needs, their wants, and their expectations. The third one is work participation. So that kind of looks at involving workers workers within the workplace to contribute their ideas in terms of improving quality. So workers are experts in their fields and should be consulted for ideas on improvement. One way that a business could do this is through quality circles. So ensuring that maybe meetings are conducted with workers every maybe fortnight or monthly, where it provides an opportunity for workers to express their sort of ideas, their inputs for quality, what they've noticed, things that they think that could be developed and worked on, and the business can then take on that feedback and use that to improve quality. With quality, you should be aware of like the reactive versus proactive approaches. With reactive, the only one you have is quality control, but then the other 2 are proactive. All right, let us now move on to waste minimization. Waste minimization is the process of reducing the amount of discarded resources created by the business and the operation system. So reducing waste just improves efficiency because less resources are used to produce outputs. And some common strategies could be, maybe sourcing higher quality materials, implementing technology, recycling materials, training workers, and improving processes. In terms of reduce, reuse, recycle, that is a strategy to reduce waste, and it seeks to use materials within the production, again, rather than completely discarding them. So reduce just means to minimize the waste occurring in the production. Reuse refers to items within production more than once. So reusing items in the production process. So for example, Yakult chemically treats their water to be reused in the production rather than discarding it completely. So that's a really good example of reusing. And then recycle means having a new use for an item instead of throwing it away completely. You also have lean management, and that's a business approach that aims to maximize customer value, but also reduce waste and improve efficiency and effectiveness. We have pull, and that is just essentially where the level of customer demand sort of pulls the production system. So it's just production of the good or service is only started when the customer places an order. So the customer order pulls at the production system with a demand. Then we have tact, and that's where the operation process seeks to create a rhythm whereby all steps in the production of the good or service are synchronized to create a continuous flow. Zero defects, that's where the operations process strives for perfection by continuously improving until it achieves zero defects. So really just kind of striving for continuous improvement. and achieving no defects in the production process. And then one-piece flow. So it's also known as continuous flow, but it's a system that aims to eliminate idle time, so it's wasted time that occurs between stages of production.